coming. We will start the meeting off tonight with open forum discussion again. So we have Wayne and Patty Zabinski back to address the school board. Just remind you, you have 5 minutes. Corey, you want to time that? Give him a minute countdown. Corey will give you a minute warning at the end.
Is that better? So, school board member. On October 31st, we sent an email chain with attachments to all of the school board members detailing how mold in the Becker High School building has harmed our daughter Sonia and prevented her from attending school since the end of September. It also details the struggle that we have had in convincing the superintendent to hire a mold professional to conduct proper testing. On November 13th, we presented to the school board here asking for your help to rid the Becker High School building of harmful mold. Asking for your help to make the responsible decision to hire a mold professional. We had assumed that all of you had read the materials that we sent and understood the struggle we're having, and that you would engage with us in a meaningful conversation and a conflict resolution. But that didn't happen. He responded by not asking us a single question, but instead turning to the superintendent and allowing him to mislead and misrepresent the facts. On November 16th, we again emailed all of you since we have received absolutely no response or follow-up. Aaron, Pete, Connie, Ryan, Corey, did any of you read the emails and the documents we sent? If no, why not? We are a family in the school district, seriously struggling with the school administrators. The school board is supposed to be the people we turn to when we were at odds with the school administration. Why are we being ignored? Why is it impossible to believe that mold could exist exactly where we said it is? Why would hiring a professional to perform targeted testing be a bad decision? We reached out to several contractors, and the type of testing we're talking about would cost less than $1,000. A far cry from the few $100,000 that was said at the last meeting. The superintendent continues to broadcast that no other students or families have reported symptoms of mold exposure. We have firsthand knowledge of another family that reported to the high school that their student is also exhibiting symptoms. How many others are we not being told about? We also know that there is an issue in the high school with nosebleeds. Apparently, the solution for the nosebleeds is to add humidifiers. Nosebleeds are also a symptom of mold exposure. I would know. I used to get them when I was exposed to mold. Since when is the school administration able to diagnose that nosebleeds are only caused by low humidity? There is a mold problem in the high school. Here's just a few of the rooms with mold. Room 610 with Mr. Wiege. Room 510 with Miss Denny. Room 215 with Mr. Moravik. Room 216 with Mr. Egbert. Room 227 with Mr. Noose. The principal's office. This room we are in right now. So now can you see the scope of this problem and that it needs to be dealt with immediately before you have future lawsuits on your hands? Mold is a silent killer. And in the high school, and people in the high school are silently getting sick. Can you look in the mirror and be okay with that? If not, here's a solution to this problem. We are proposing that we will hire a professional contractor at our cost to conduct air sample testing above the ceiling in 2 areas that we identified. If those tests come back positive for mold, then the school will reimburse us and proceed accordingly. Now that the cost of testing is no longer a factor, is the school administration finally ready to meet with us? It's time for the school board to step up and be leaders. This is what you have been elected to do and why you've been put into the positions that you are in. Thank you.
Can I just ask one question? How did you find that these rooms that you just listed are the ones that have mold?
I am trained in advanced applied kinesiology. And I also confirmed with my colleague who has been also doing that for 35 years plus, helping people identify mold.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I've got a question. What are the two areas?
That we want to test.
Sure, yes.
We will identify those once we know that we will move forward with us being able to do the testing. I mean, we've listed several.
I'd asked
routes.
that in one of my emails to you. What were the two areas?
But one of them we recommended months.
The
ago,
principal's
the
office?
emails was about the principal's office.
Yeah,
That's one.
yes.
And we can choose one of these other ones above one of these other classrooms.
So I've got a couple questions for you. So I've been working in this building for 30 years. Whether it's been doing maintenance or as a custodian. I've spent more time in this ceiling of this entire campus and have a very good knowledge of it. So if your theory is that it's trapped above the concrete, like we can go for a walk and we can go down to like the shop where you can see it. I want to know how mold that would be above concrete is going to affect the indoor air quality. That's in my head actually ridiculous.
It's in the same way that it happens in houses where you have sheetrock, you have a vapor barrier, you have insulation. The mold is in the insulation and it affects the inside air of the house.
Yep, it very well can, but you're talking completely different because that concrete is sealed from the indoor air. And this plenum has constant air movement. If that was the case, we could see it, but I don't see a scenario that honestly makes sense. And like I said, I have spent, and I did read all of your emails, and I have been involved with Rick and Jeremy, probably more than anyone on this. I honestly don't buy into it. I believe it's in your home.
It's not normal.
It's not at our home, sir.
This is why.
Unless you completely-
This is why we want you to hire a professional to do some.
Unless, but there's no evidence to hire anyone. So I understand, I totally want you guys to feel safe and feel comfortable. But I have as much knowledge of this building as anyone here, and it's not feasible. It's just absolutely not.
Can I ask you what experience you have with mold?
I don't have experience with mold, but I know mold when I see it, and I know where mold can grow, and mold, it's pretty tough for mold to grow in something that is completely dry and completely sealed off from the environment. And if we want to test a brand new roof and we destroy that roof, who's going to warranty that roof when we just paid
Well,
millions of dollars?
the example we gave about the principal's office, it's not a brand new.
It's not.
It looks terrible.
It very well, I don't know the exact scope. Rick could speak to
There's
where
roads
those, but
in the
most of this roof is new. But either way, who's gonna pay for if that roof is damaged, who's gonna pay for that?
We didn't suggest opening the roof, we suggested taking air sample testing on the inside of the concrete. That's what
We've
we
taken
said.
air samples.
No, you
So-
haven't hired a professional contractor.
Well, I'm
to
just
take proper samples and send them to a lab for testing.
telling you what
That's what we.
guidance that we've heard from everywhere and from professionals. I don't see it, and I'm very rarely will be outspoken about stuff. I honestly, I'm done talking about it. So
We didn't see it in our home either. So sometimes you
I'm aware
don't
of
see
the
it.
construction of your home, and you can tell me what year your home was built. And I can also tell you where mold problems will probably be. But
But you said you've never dealt with mold.
no,
Is
I'm
that
not a
correct?
mold professional, but I have
Okay.
dealt with mold
Just wanted to
my
clear.
entire career.
Any further questions? All right, thank you. All right, bringing us on to presentations. We have Rick here for discussion of building and grounds.
Rick Rouse, Building and Grounds, right? Um. Just kind of wanted to give an update how the summer went and some of the things we've been doing up to this point since school has started. A little while back, we applied for a safety grant. We received that safety grant. We handed out vests, cleats, and some shovels, miscellaneous places. So we were able to hand those out. And I got my first thank you email today, which does not happen very often. So that was awesome. Somebody actually used them. I don't care if one pair went out and it was used. That was a win. So I was the playground supervisor going out, walking through slush and snow and had a pair of cleats on. They felt safe walking. So that was pretty awesome. I don't get a lot of awesome news in my office, so that was good. So next thing on my list is intermediate school gym floors. Most of you have been around dealing with that. Our new floors are holding up great. No more cracks, no more buckling. Things have been holding up pretty well. Just ordered the 2 humidifiers. We're going to season the wood for 1 more year through the winter. Humidifiers keep it about 30% humidity in the gym areas. And the manufacturer recommends 30%. So we have dehumidification on our new equipment, but it doesn't humidify. That was another $250,000. Makes sense to put the humidifiers in and use those instead. Saves a lot of money that way. And once we reseal it again, we won't have to do that next year. So it's awesome. Floors look great. I haven't heard otherwise. I don't want to either. So next one on here is a pretty big deal too. Is Kevin and I worked through some numbers. Kevin worked the numbers. He let me spend it. We did LED upgrades here at the high school. Hoping to have those done. Actually, they might be done by the end of December, the way things are going, because I got rebates for going in and we're kind of. Kevin helped me out here. Maybe it was like $250 to finish the building, and then I think Excel rebates were around $50,000. That's correct. And those rebates will be going away. So if we didn't do it this year, we would have lost that money. So I already got a warning letter that those are coming to an end.
And Rick should mention then, I believe all of our buildings would be LED after the system. Completely changed over to LED.
Not that the fixture life that we have less service for, but also with security. These lights are on, you walk in the hallway, it's controlled with sensors, it's got daylight harvesting. Somebody comes in my building, I get a call after hours, I can see if somebody's been in that room or if it's a false alarm, call in police or call off police. We haven't had a after hours police dispatch, I don't think since last summer. So it's been going pretty good. Says the coaches coming in and doing whatever, but so that's been going good. That's a good upgrade. And we also finished up all I have preventative maintenance contracts out for the water heaters. Those have all been completed. We did boiler tune-ups this summer, or this fall, sorry. So those are 100% complete. We also get Excel rebates for tuning our boilers every 2 years. So those are all up to date. All the annual safety inspections are done. Your fire suppression, sprinklers, and so forth. All that summer work is done. We started doing a little bit of energy conservation. Moving into the school year, 68-degree heating set points with 74 cooling set points. Again, with the LEDs and the sensors and kind of knocking that our 810 budget down for operating every month. It's going to be helpful. We don't have that high load power factor that Excel likes to give us. So those have been going down as well. We've also been working towards eliminating all the personal appliances people bring in, coffee pots and microwaves and refrigerators, treating our classrooms for education, not for personal convenience. So that's an ongoing problem, and in the end, we'll save. So Another thing we're looking at is, controlling our power coming into the facility through Excel. Kevin and I have been also working with that. We're looking at, upgrading our capacitor banks and doing stuff like that. We're waiting for some feedback from Excel to see if we get some rebates for that. And, in the end, that capacitor bank feeds our power coming in the building, so we don't have as many surges and problems coming throughout the building. It kind of balances the load coming in. So it's gonna reduce our, they call it like a power factor, and they kind of fine us for using dirty power, kind of taken from the grid, so that'll help that. That's in the works. It's not complete, so it's kind of a big deal. I will give you a little mini update. All of our new facilities, intermediate school, early childhood building, transportation building, and this one, and their grounds building, all are performing at like 99%. It's amazing how well that those new upgrades have performed. Energy usage is amazing. Transportation building, a pole barn is under $1,000 a month, and that's heat as well. So electricity it's been going great. Power consumption, building automation controls, it's all been handling very well. So currently, building grounds is fully staffed, but I do have a retirement coming in January, so I'll have an opening if anyone's looking. That's really all I have. Any other questions? I like questions. Something?
Thank you for all the stuff,
Thank
all the
you.
work that you do.
Thank you, Rick.
I like doing it. So thank you.
Good. Thank you. Thanks, Rick. All right, that moves us on to item number 2, reports, and we will start tonight with student reports. I believe it's Charlie.
All right, so we'll start with the boys hockey team. They've only had 2 games so far, but they play again tomorrow in Sauk Center. The girls hockey team kicked off their season a few weeks ago with an overnight trip for games against Wyndham and Worthington. Last week they had their cancer night with a pretty good turnout, and they hope to come away with a win from their game tomorrow against Morris Benson. The boys basketball team looks forward to their first game tomorrow against Legacy Christian. They face a tough opponent, but they will play hard and they look to come out on top. The girls basketball team had a game on Saturday and they beat Jordan in a blowout. They play Elk River on Tuesday and Totino on Thursday. Both are going to be tough games, but they can definitely win them, and they are currently ranked 8th in the state. For gymnastics, their first meet is on Friday against Wayzata and Chaska at home. It's kind of like a scrimmage though, because it's not a conference meet, but their first conference meet is next Thursday home against Princeton.
My turn. Okay, the dance team has had a busy few weeks with competitions. Most notably, they won their last competition in Becker on the 22nd, and they'll compete again in Becker on the 4th. The robotics team kicked off their training season 2 weeks ago with a registration event. As of right now, we're just under 10 new students. This Saturday, we host one of our biggest events of the year called Jumpstart at St. Cloud State. There will be around 50 classes and roundtables throughout the day presented by both students and mentors in the robotics community. It's a very fun day. Archery is kicking off their season today with practices, and we'll have the opportunity to sign up for more practices in the coming weeks. Drama put on a wonderful show a few weeks ago with Mamma Mia. Shout out to Connor and Colin, who are some leads. Yearbook has transitioned to working on their winter activity pages after fall deadlines. NHS has kicked off their Christmas food shelf and toy drives and are preparing for the next blood drive in January. Student Council has dress-up days being planned right now for the holiday season, as well as decorating hallways. They're working on getting a date set for that. They also have set a date for a movie night on the 12th of December. I'm not quite sure what that movie is going to be. And then DECA is still working hard to prepare the Deck of the Halls event coming up on December 17th. Are there any questions? I do have one other comment. No.
Wrestling.
Wrestling?
Didn't give it up.
Yeah, I didn't have that one, so if you can share.
Friday against Foley.
Okay.
Currently ranked 6th, I think.
Okay, so this is the less fun comment to make. As student body reps, our jobs are made pretty easy here in Becker. I know years before I came on, there were some challenges, but right now it's a lot of short meetings and we read our reports and that's about it. With this mold issue, though, I've been it's been on my mind. Just, do I comment? Do I not comment? So the perspective that I guess I'm able to provide and that Weston may be able to comment on, is I have a hard time wrapping my mind around it purely because of the fact that I've been in the school, right now I'm not in the school, but I've been in the school for 3 years. And never have I seen issues of people getting sick more than usual. Flu season is flu season and it's terrible and it lasts too long, but it's hard for me to wrap my mind around people getting sick because of mold because I don't know. I don't feel it. My classmates don't feel it. And it's the same thing, the nosebleeds. The kids that have nosebleeds will always have nosebleeds and they're terrible in the winter. I don't know, but I don't see that coming from mold. So again, student perspective, that's why we're here. That's why we sit on this board. So that is what I have to provide to that.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that.
Thank you. I would love to give a shout out to the play. That was probably the most enjoyable high school play I've been to. I mean, it was fun from the start to the end. It was very fun. Good singing, good musical. It was a well done play. It was a lot of fun. All right, thank you. Any more questions or discussion?
I just want to thank you for providing a student perspective. My daughter also lives here and she also gets nosebleeds in the wintertime and it's from extreme dry temperatures and she's prone to that and it's strictly because it's dry and it's miserable sometimes in the winter. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item 2B, superintendent's report.
Yeah, we have the MSBA conference coming up on January 15th and 16th. Everyone's registered for the free conference. And one of the things that's different this year is the awards ceremony that has taken place on Thursday in the middle of the day has been moved to Wednesday, along with the networking social on Wednesday night, which will open up more times and more slots for breakout sessions. And then they're going to serve food on site, according to what they've been telling us. So we'll have that option there and we can stay on site and get more opportunities for the breakouts with that. So it sounds like a good positive move. Our January meeting is lower on the agenda as well, but I recommend doing January 5th as our January meeting as the first Monday in January. That would be our organizational meeting. You can let me or Chair Jurek know if you're interested in switching committees or if you want to keep them the same or whatever, any of those types of things, so we can kind of pre-plan for some of that. It makes the meeting go a little smoother and quicker, but we won't have negotiations, I don't think, this year. So you can stay on that committee if you want. The legislative session begins on February 17th and ends on May 18th of 2026. The next budget forecast will be out in February. While it's not a budget year itself, the forecast will be important to how the state proceeds. Some of the mandates 1 month from today, we'll start with the paid family leave stuff. It's been on the news. It's going to continue to be on the news, and we're working through that. We've got a mandatory notice that goes out to all of our employees that they have to sign off on, and so we've sent that out a couple times, and we're working on making sure to get everyone's back for that. And then payroll deductions will start happening, I think in January, right away on January 10th. From the employees. Every employee will pay their portion of that. And then just a couple things that are not on there, the calendar. If anyone in the public has feedback, calendar committee will hopefully meet here in December. It will be short notice, but I have 4 different versions of the calendar created. I have a pre-Labor Day start and a post-Labor Day start, and each one of those have a spring break and a non-spring break option. So my guess is the one that's not going to be favorable at all is the after Labor Day start with a spring break, because that's a June, I think 12th or something like that, ending date. So, but the other ones are certainly viable, and we can switch things around as well. But the calendar, I think if we go pre-Labor Day, will look very similar to this year's. And so that, I guess that would be my pick. It doesn't really matter to me as I'm here every day anyway, but so that'll be coming out soon. But if anyone has any opinions strongly about before Labor Day, after Labor Day, please send those to me. I'm open to suggestions and ideas, and I will share those with the calendar committee. I also attended the Energy Transition Advisory Council meeting today in Foley. So that was a very positive meeting, and I think we'll get some opportunities for some grants and things like that coming from the meeting today. So I was glad to attend that. And then I wanted to shout out the musical as well. But we've already got a lot of shout outs of them. I also think I'm not a great musician or musical mind or anything, but kind of like what you said, the singing voices of the actors in the musical were as good as any as I've heard in my, I think I've only been to 6 of them here or whatever, because I don't know if we had them during COVID, but yeah, and all the times their voices were really, really good. I went home and told my family that I wish we would have went to the Friday one, and then I could have went back to the Sunday one, but I went to the Sunday afternoon one. So great job to them, and we're excited for our winter activities. I'll be doing shot clock tomorrow night.
Shout out to the staff too on that Friday, because we had that huge dance competition
Oh,
in
yeah.
the gym at the same time. And so the way they staggered it was just another great job by the staff to do that again.
Parking lot was full.
That's right. That's
It was
why I
hard
had to go
find
on
a
Friday.
Quick question. So on the paid leave, does everybody get the 0.44%? Is that across the board, or is that staggered by unions?
Everybody,
Okay.
and actually, we went with a private insurance, going through the state. And our percentage is 0.415 for the employer and the employee. So it's a 0.83
Okay.
total instead of 0.88 that the state is charging.
Didn't know that was an option.
Yeah.
So, all right, any other questions for Jeremy? All right, thank you. Moving on to committee reports. Corey, you have a curriculum committee?
Sure. We actually just met right before this meeting. We talked about a couple different things. One of the things that we talked about is in the consent agenda, it's 3C about the Comprehensive Achievement and Civic Readiness Report. Our Director of Curriculum Instruction, Carla Nolan, presented in the summer about some of the tasks, but the couple things that she was not able to is the MCA data. The MCA data is available right now, so kind of discuss that a little bit. And you can see that on there. Just kind of talked about where the goal was for some of our areas that we were looking at, such as the free and reduced lunches and special education students, and just kind of where that gap is and what the goal was to try and lower that, or the kind of that achievement gap for their peers. Didn't quite meet some of those, so some of the things that they talked about, or they're close, but some of the things that they talked about were just kind of the letters training that now is fully in fact, so all of our teachers now are trained in that, so that should help a little bit. Some of the new curriculum needs that have come out should also help, hopefully continue to work on that closing of the gap. But we just know where some of our struggling learners are, just trying to cut some of those back down. Another thing we talked about that's always important is the AI discussion for our students. Our goal as a teacher, our Becker mission statement is developing self-directed learners to thrive in a changing global community, and just how AI affects that and just the different areas of teaching, implementing usage of it, and then preparing them for what life would be like after school and some of the things that are going on. So good conversations.
All right. Any questions for Corey?
Perfect.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you. Pete and Connie, you have an activities?
Connie and I attended the last activity council meeting last Monday, the November 24th. We're hoping to talks with Max Ebert. He is the head of the gaming club. We talked a little bit about the last meeting. Something came up, so we weren't able to talk to him, so we'll be scheduling that for the next meeting. But we did have it's Tina and Kerhertes. I knew I was gonna get that wrong. Came in and talked a little bit about our the culinary program that we have here at Becker, and we really got to dive in and see how that works. We've heard about them going to some places and providing, appetizers and things. I think Jeremy, you've been to one of the competitions. It was really exciting. She's super excited about it. We got to kind of hear how it started to how it is now. Kids get excited for it. And it's just another program that we can offer at the school for kids to kind of find their place. And it's a life skill. I'm always a huge fan of, when we can issue life skills like that. So the program's open to everything, everybody. And then they have a Pro Start, which is kind of the state and regional competition team where they go to different events, they compete. There's usually 10 to 15 kids that are involved with that. And we kind of heard about how we kind of stack up right now with the heavy hitters. I think the last time was our first time there, and we didn't finish last, she said. So she was excited about that, but a lot of good things that they can, touch base on. Elk River, I guess, is one of the top programs in the state. So they've been sharing information with them. So yeah, it's great. Kind of some things on the wish list. They're always looking for fundraising opportunities, knives, freezer space. I know freezer space is always a prime item, no matter, especially here in Minnesota. Everyone needs more freezer space. Fridges, so they're looking at fundraising opportunities for that. So yeah, it is very interesting. Definitely something that we should continue to support, and excited to see that program grow. Talked a little bit about our trainer this year. We've got a lot of positive feedback with the new athletic trainer that we hired. And we also talked about athletic fees, making sure that we're staying, in line. It seems like we always talk about that. We're always, trying to stay on top of that. But we did say every 2 years, we're going to want to review those. And I think currently we're sitting right in the middle in our conference for what we charge for fees. So we're good with that. And then we did hear about a program that they are looking into. It's ETS. It's a system that helps manage the weight room and staff the weight room. They're in the process of getting more information about it, but it's I think it's a cost about $4,000 a month, but there's a trained individual in there that can help show the kids, proper lifting techniques and strategies, talk fitness and training, nutrition, stuff like that. So I know that's in the beginning phases. Dave said that he was going to get some more information on that as we move forward. So yeah, busy activity meeting.
Any questions for two of them?
Surprising some of the weight rooms that you see in these new buildings, new schools that are being built. So it's a big draw. And it's a big undertaking that a lot of districts are being appointed. Roger operators and these places.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Like college.
Absolutely.
We had Chisago Lakes for dance, and their school connects to the community center out
Sure.
there, and that is like walking in their weight room's like walking into a LA Fitness.
Yep.
It's like, wow.
It's a big push. And
Oh,
it's just one of the other one of the draws.
Yeah.
The kids want to keep kids on school campuses versus sending them to anytime, those
Right.
places, which is great for the businesses, but it'd be nice to put kids in.
Yep. Well, it's here, use it.
Yep.
So makes sense. All right, thank you. Brings us to item number 3, the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda before us.
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any questions, discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Brings us to item number 4, truth and taxation. Kevin's hotspot of the year right here. The most riveting presentation all year.
I'm gonna try to project it.
Yeah, you can, follow along, fine.
If I can find, where?
So, what this is this is the annual truth and taxation that we have for taxes payable next year in 2026. Does start in September. You guys approved the preliminary levy back then. This is now the final presentation. You can go to the next slide here. So there's 2 requirements to it. Counties, you guys have probably already received those, the post taxes for next year. And that's what these are based upon. And then your public entities have to hold these truth and taxation. Counties, cities, and the school districts. You know what I mean? What it requires is we have to present the current year's budget and then the actual revenues and expenses for the prior year, which was 24-25. And then we also have to present what the proposed levy amount is. And if there's any public comment, people can come up to speak. You can go to the next one, Johnny. So this is our 24-25 general fund results. So that's our main fund. That has all the salaries, benefits, all the expenses relating to the education, also to the buildings, grounds, and long-term facilities. As you can see, the first line there shows what our total general fund was. And there you'll see we had a spend down of a variance of $1,921,000. You'll see where most of that comes in is the capital, which is the reserve, first reserve. There we had a $2,125,000 spend down. And that was mainly the primary roof for the health, the insurance that we got on the 2 hail damage. It's now complete. Sorry, it's now complete, but that's where that major spend. See the money, except for 700,000 in one of that's see their projects from the insurance. Then I had to turn in all the invoices, stack it up that way. But we got paid the remaining. Our long-term facilities maintenance, that you'll see went up 945,000. And what that's planned for, why we have the fund balance there is with the referendum dollars that we have remaining, and then we were doing the roofing project here at high school. There was about 900,000 coming out here to make up the difference that was not enough in the referendum. So this was covering the shortfall that we had. And then the other 200,000 was what Rick was talking about earlier, that we were able to do with the remaining LED light, which we have enough. Then you'll get some other restricted amounts. There's American Indian Aid that we have. There's a restricted for literacy, which really involves 3 different funding sources. One is the teacher pay for the READ Act. Another one is a district-wide for READ Act, and then there was a regular literacy aid that is every year that we receive from it. The first 2 are just a flat amount for 1 year. It carries over into the next year, which will be spent down in the following or in this year. Then we get donations for scholarships, and see we spent what we brought in. We still have a fund balance there. The student activities, that's all of the student activity clubs, if you would call them, that are run within the district. So, there's every sport, there's drama, there's, band. It's not just sports, it's all of the student activity. And then the sign for building activities, those are the site-based monies that when they bring in fundraisers or certain money, then it's restricted to that site and for that building. We have an assigned amount for Gilman's Hope, which, we got donations in, and we then spend some of that out on mental health issues. And then the non-spendable fund balance, what that is just the inventories and prepaids from the previous year. It restricts it and just says, well, you're spending that in the next year because you already have that set up. That it's already spent, so you can't count it. So then the bottom line is really the unassigned fund balance that refers to the policy that the board has set up for that 8%. And the current amount there is 3,575,000, which equates into about 9.06, so still above that 8%. And as you can see, that one did go down. We've projected it to go down. We were better than the projection that we had. We were projecting 900,000 down. It went down 613. Favorable, and it was planned to go down. That was, again, remember the settlements. The first year we went up 23, 24, fund balance went up. We knew it was gonna go down in 24, 25. Any questions on that? Okay, we'll go to the next one. Now this one, the first line is just a global, what you just saw for the general fund, and these are all of the other funds. So the food service fund went up 25,000. We do plan on still spending that down. We have the middle school new freezer did go in, it just didn't go in until July, so that is in this year, not last year's, so that'll come down. And then the primary freezer, we're still planning on spending that too. Community service fund, you can see that one didn't go up. But as you can, if you remember a little bit from that audit from November 13th, the transfer was really clearing out the deficit that we had in the general, if you call it the general community ed, and to give the new director a kind of clean slate, starting out where she started. And then there were other reserves that were positives, and then the preschool and then the early childhood kind of education. The building construction fund, that's the money from the referendum. And as you can see, at the end of June, we still had 2,852,000. That's really the remaining amount for the roofing that's done. And it's a 2-year project. They did it this last summer, was the first summer, and then next summer is when it'll get completely done. So that'll be spent. And then that amount that was in the general fund from that long-term facilities maintenance, that 900,000 will come out of that fund. The debt service fund, that's the principal and interest that we pay off on bonds that the school district has, and then the tax levy money that comes. Also went up 130. So questions on that? Okay, Jeremy, you go to the next one. So this is our current year's budget, 25-26, for the general fund. Nothing real earth shattering there. As you can see, the long-term facilities maintenance, again, like I mentioned, that's gonna go down. That's just the rest of the money that was not enough in the building construction fund. But then if you go down to the bottom, see the unassigned is roughly revenues equals the expenditures of 57,000 increase. So should be able to maintain that 8% fund balance. I can go to the next one, Barry. And then this is just the, again, same setup by total funds. You'll see general fund is variance of 1,364,000 deficit. That's mainly from that capital reserves is where it'll be spent from. The food service, again, those are those 2 freezers yet that we plan on putting in. One is already done in the middle school, but still looking at the new primary. And community service fund has a little bit of a decrease, but pretty much revenues equal expenditures. And then the building construction fund, that's where, you know, we're spending to make the payments on the contractors for the roofing. At the end of June 30th, you'll still have some amount left because they won't actually have it done until August. which is the next year's budget is what it'll be some. And in the debt service, it's holding its own, you know, having a little bit of an increase. And yeah, doing good. Next slide. So these are our comparisons of our actual general fund revenues from last year, 24-25 versus the current year. As you can see, not huge changes between where the revenues are coming from. Last year, local property tax was about 19.8. Current year, 20.1%. State sources, not too much of a change, 74.8 versus current year 74.6. And then we get some federal and a little bit of other. Pretty comparable to years. Next slide is the expenditures. And same type of thing, just where it's spent, where our money's been spent last year, 24-25, compared to this year's budget. And as you can see, real comparable again. The majority of our spending was on the instruction, 62% last year, projected 64% this year. Our admin and district supports the same 7%. Same with the maintenance, 13 versus 14%. And then the student support services, 15 versus 14%. So again, very comparable. Next slide. So where does most of our revenues come from that last slide? From the revenues, you saw it was mostly coming from the state. And how they calculate that amount is the formula amounts that the state sets. They give you a dollar amount times number of students, gives us our state revenues. Not too tough of a formula, but it's really how many students you have. And you still got to try to project how many you're going to have next year. This is the amounts that the state is setting. As you can see, last year in 24-25 it was 7,281. For the current year, it's 7,481. So it went up $200 per student. These are our October 1st student counts. And we can see we kind of leveled out. We were high right before COVID hit. We were almost up to 3,000 students. During COVID, as most school districts did, we actually didn't lose as many as a lot of them did. But we did go down in students, and then we've been hanging right around that 2,850 mark for the past 5 years. Next formula, or next slide. So again, as I stated, the legislature sets that formula in that dollar amount per student to determine that amount that we can levy. And that revenue that the state sets, they also set levy limits of the amounts that you can put out for a levy, tax levy to the residents. Minnesota Department of Ed calculates those limits based on those formulas. And then again, you do the proposed levy adoption in September. And then the only thing that they say is the final levy cannot exceed that. That's why we did the maximum levy back in September. And then tonight is the night that you approve the final property tax levy. Go to the next slide here. And this is actually shows last year's 24 pay 25. So our levy total levy last year was 12,451,581. The proposed for this year is 12,447,979, or a $3,602 decrease, or a 0.03% decrease actually, so pretty level, about the same. Not a big change. So like if you looked at your proposed property tax statement, so again, you may see a increase in total. But what you gotta look at is the school district and some residents might have increases in their school taxes also. But then others could possibly have the same, even small decrease. And some of that is also based on property value. They went up or down. Usually gone down, but if they went up, they should have not gone up that much if they did. You'll like, then you get to look at your county portion or your city portion or township if you live not in the city limits. And then you gotta add all three of those together to get what your total increase in property tax. Some of the details for the general fund changes. The general fund had a $78,010 increase. Most of that was from the operating referendum, which is a result of the inflationary increase. But our building lease levy decreased by 42,000, and it was because of less building costs through the special ed co-op. And then there's 10 other categories that decreased by 45, 463, and those were due mainly to investments. So the overall of all three of those, it's a $70,010 increase for the general. Then in the community ed, you have a decrease of 21,634. And the community ed levy portion of that community ed total, same as the prior year. Early childhood decreased 17, and the other, there's about 3 other community ed levies within that total community ed levy. They decreased by 3,008. So overall, that fund has a 21,000 decrease. And then the last fund is the debt service. That was an overall decrease of 59,978. The majority of that is from what they call a debt excess levy, and by statute, we have to levy 105% of our principal and interest on our debt, our bonds, but we don't have a 5% delinquency rate. So what happens is that fund balance in that fund builds. So then the state has a state law that they don't let you keep that in the fund balance. They limit it. So then what they do is they give a negative adjustment to your 105% the next year. So they decrease it. That's why there's a decrease. Then there's a couple other small debt service levies that will decrease by them. So the total of all those three that I just went through was at 3,600. Again, how is an individual's property tax determined? Well, first of all, the county assessor determines market value for each of the parcels. Again, the legislature sets those formulas for tax capacities. On different types of properties, they set different rates. Then goes to the county auditors, and then they'll calculate the amount of the tax for each of the properties for the school district. Next. Oh, who can you contact for answers? You can call me. Regarding the property value, don't call me. Call the county assessor's office. Don't have anything to do with that. And in fact, they have a meeting in May if you go to them about valuation. That's meeting that they have. Other than that, the questions. That's pretty, level, small increase. That's why I expect nobody really to come up here tonight and say, oh, your taxes are going crazy.
Quick question, when you do, since our, money is so much tied to students, how far out do we project?
Or this.
Population? Because I mean, you look at like our early childhood, that was a decrease, I'm assuming there's less kids in it. Is our population, student population, you know,
Well, no, so some of
equal
the.
growth or a little?
Some of these
good?
levy, so they're, when you send it to all the information to the state and they do the calculation, okay? There's two parts to it. The first part is you gotta estimate for the next year. So we send in those estimates to them, they do the calculation. Then there's what's called also adjustments to it then. So then it's the previous year's estimates. And if you're over or under, then they'll adjust those. So if you were under what your estimates were, they'll give you a negative adjustment, so it'll lower it because you weren't right on. And if you were over your estimate, then they'll add to it. So we're pretty close
Yeah,
because we didn't go wacko on it.
Yeah.
In fact, last year's budget, I went after I did the audit last year, I estimated 2,805 current students. And it came out to 2,805.47. So I was like,
oh,
that's never happened in my
Yeah.
30 years that I got that close, but
so how far out do you project them, you go like?
I go about 3 years out that
Just
just to
using
see where we're going.
Funds or datas
Yeah,
or
just
houses and.
see where we're going. And you also look at, you've got certain grades
Yep.
that are higher or lower. So like when you graduate out of a bigger class,
Mhm.
well, it means net less revenue because also the 7 through 12 is a higher weight.
Yep.
Then, you could have 200 going out as seniors, but only have 200 coming in. It's not the same revenue
Right.
because of that extra 20% that you're getting for those high school students. So, yeah, I go out about 3 years to see where we're at. Good question.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept.
That motion to accept the April 2026 levy.
I'll second.
Having a motion and a second. Do we have any further questions or discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Brings us to item number 5, January organizational board meeting. Chairman, you want to speak to that real quick?
Yeah, it's first Monday in January. We'll have a full board. Hopefully on that day. I haven't had any petitions or anything like that in the time period, so Renee's on board and she'll go through some base training, like all of you did prior to that, and then I'm meeting with her. Can't remember the day, I think it's December 19th, we're meeting. And just going over some orientation type of stuff. Okay, January 5th at 6:30. And we'll have some suggested dates as well, if you could come on whatever day we set. Knowing the meeting restriction dates, and if you have dates that conflict, we won't need to move them to a different Monday or something, that would be great to know too.
What he means is have your calendar up to date when we meet in January.
Best you can.
Entertain a motion, number 5.
I'll make a motion to accept the organization meeting is January 5th.
I can second that.
Having a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, motion carries. Brings us to item number 6, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Wilson and Charlie, the student event happened. The